Alrighty, so let's talk about economic systems in patch 1.2 beta, checksum FFD5, and what will give us the fastest GDP growth. So, conclusion first, Laissez-Faire remains the strongest econ system before 1.93 billion GDP. After that, something else takes over that I'm gonna review a bit later. If the industrialist plus 10 trade is not activated. If it does activate, then the result is kind of subject to error. Like I have allowed a bit of error in my math to make the calculation easier and to take in consideration actual, like what we will encounter in actual gameplay. So yeah. If the plus 10 trade is activated, Laissez-Faire may be faster, it may be smaller. I cannot guarantee. So in patch 1.2, let's go over some mechanic first. Our contribution from each profession is actually fixed, so capitalist is fixed at 20%, aristos at 10%, farmers and shopkeepers at 5%, and Laissez-Faire will give us a 50% efficiency on capitalist efficiency equal investment and 25% on shopkeepers, which we can see here. 50% and 25%, a bit different from our death diary, if I recall correctly. And command economy will give us a 100% building dividends. So if we can see here. 100% building dividends. And we also know that there is an overall efficiency mechanic involved, where essentially if your GDP is lower than 10 million, you get a multiplier on your investment pool up to 300%, which is times 3, scaling with your GDP. And if your GDP is between 10 million to 2 billion, you get a multiplier down to 30% of your investment pool, scaling with your GDP again. So if your economy reaches 2 billion, you essentially get a 70% penalty on your GDP. And for government share, it changes to 20% of your total government share dividends, so you lose 80% of your penalty of your GDP. In the case of investment pool, you lose 70% of the investment pool at 2 billion GDP. So the process and assumption for the math that I'm gonna do is pretty much the same as the one I have in my Laissez-Faire nerf video. Essentially, we have this actual, but however, something is changed in the sense that I have taken account the size of our how the size of our economy will influence our minting and our taxation. So that's a bit of a change that will impact our result. It's also just better math, like it's a closer model to what we have in gameplay. Again, I'm assuming we have the capitalists taking up all the dividends, and we are assuming that the plus 10 approval trade for industrialists, so plus 10% or 20% contribution efficiency isn't activated. And we're also assuming a 60% margin, and we're spending 5% of our GDP on our economy. So it's pretty industrialized right now. So at this rate, we can check when does command economy and Laissez-Faire break even. It will break even at 1.16 GDP. We can do a go seek here to see at maximum taxes, command economy and Laissez-Faire breaks even at, so break even will be a multiplier of 1. This will give us at 1.16. Well, 1.17 honestly. Better rounding, right? So, however, if we take into account that command economy has the tier 4 tech prerequisite, we will 100% achieve 1.2 billion GDP once we get tier 4 tech. So Laissez-Faire is strong all the way up until late game. However, at maximum penalties, co-op's GDP growth cycle is actually slightly shorter than that of Laissez-Faire. As we can see, if I change the GDP to 1,999 million, so essentially the maximized penalty rate. Co-op's the time it takes co-op to grow its GDP by a certain by a certain exponent, it's actually shorter than the time it takes Laissez-Faire to do so. So essentially, if it takes co-op 10 years to increase its economy by 10%, command economy will only increase its economy by 3.31 times. Like if it takes co-op 10 years to increase its economy by 10 times, not 10%, right? And Laissez-Faire will only increase its economy by 9.62 times in 10 years. So come late game, co-op will actually be slightly faster at higher taxes than Laissez-Faire. And though Laissez-Faire, as we can see here, is slightly faster at lower taxes. And why do I not take into account the industrialist plus 10 plus 20% efficiency that we can see here? Industrialist now gets a plus 10 plus 20% efficiency. Why do I not take into account this? It's because I have a lot of room for error in my calculations, and if we actually do take it into account, the conclusion becomes really murky because you do have to realize I'm skewing things a lot in the favor of laissez-faire here. I have allocated 100% of the dividends to the industrialists so that they get the highest efficiency bonus, and all that jazz. Like is and I'm and if I actually do have to take into account the actual, if I do not allocate 100% of the contribution of dividends to the capitalists, that will mean I have to go through a lot more calculations, such as the different share ratio between industries under different industrial and subsistence economy ratios and all that jazz. That's why I kind of left it out, leave a bit room for error. Know that I skew things in the way of laissez-faire, and just go on with it. And this will also give me a more concrete conclusion. Since even when I skew things in favor of laissez-faire, and co-op still give me a faster rate of GDP growth, that will mean co-op will give me an even faster rate of GDP growth in actual gameplay, right? So it's a more concrete and solid conclusion. And do note that I'm also using proportional taxation here instead of graduated taxation. That will again skew things in favor of laissez-faire because co-op's primary revenue does come from taxes and all that stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Laissez-faire in 1.2 is strong, yes. However, co-op has the potential to take it over once we pass 2 billion GDP. So yeah, if you got any questions, comments, feel free to post them in the comment section so that I can answer them for you. So that's it. Bye bye.